Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Joe Palmer begins now.
Good evening, everyone. Disgraced former mining minister Adam Brooks will step down from politics following health concerns and last year's damning Integrity Commission report. The Braddon MP had been facing more scrutiny over his use of personal emails and the report's findings. He tried to cover up connections to his mining business.
The legacy of Adam Brooks summed up in a few short words.
Adam's career, like everyone else's, has never been perfect and he's made mistakes.
This morning, the Braddon MP dropped this bombshell announcement on radio.
I've made the difficult decision to advise the Governor and the Premier that I'll be resigning from Parliament.
Leaving his boss to take the questions.
Did you have any indication that this was coming, or was the surprise really today?
I spoke to Adam late last week when he informed me he was thinking about this.
But it was this question that defined the career of the former mining minister.
Do you use an MSS email address?
No.
You don't use an MSS email address?
No.
At all?
No.
Well, that's very interesting.
An Integrity Commission report found he did, and that he deleted emails linking himself to his mining business connections to avoid political damage, afterwards misleading Parliament about it. But the November 2018 report found he did not breach the Ministerial Code of Conduct. He was still referred to the Privileges Committee to consider those findings.
He did mislead the Parliament, and that was 2 years ago. It's taken a long time for him to do the honourable thing, really, and resign. But having said that, it's also taken its toll on him and his health, so we wish him all the best with that too.
Health concerns are behind his decision to step down. Mr Brooks has been on leave since late last year. Ballots will now be recounted to find his replacement.
For the recount, it's only the votes that Adam Brooks had when he was elected. All other votes cast in the election are irrelevant.
Former Braddon MP Joan Ryler, who lost her seat last election, has put up her hand.
The unfinished business was the hard thing. There were so many issues that I was working on for constituents that I wanted completed.
She also paid tribute to her former colleague.
When good people make an error, as Adam did in the Estimates Committee, you just really feel for them because it's so easy to make a mistake in politics.
Mr Brooks will serve his final day tomorrow, ending a 9-year career in Parliament, and a saga the government would rather forget. Sean McComish, 7 Tasmania News.
For Tasmania's community services sector, the battle for Pokies isn't over. Last week, Labor backed away from its policy to remove gaming machines from pubs and clubs. But Community Services says despite the election result, Parliament still has a role when it votes on new gambling licence laws.
We want to see Labor hold a strong line on their policy around pokies coming out of pubs and clubs. We want to see that as the policy that Labor will stand by and take to the next election.
The Labor Party position hasn't changed. We stand by the policy that we took to the election. The unfortunate reality is that the Liberal government won. From opposition, we are unable to implement our policies.
The government says the legislation will come before Parliament in the next financial year. The Hospitality Association was contacted for comment. It's been an emotional day for the staff of the Launceston Birth Centre after announcing last night it would be closing its doors today. The not-for-profit centre says changes to independent midwifery regulations have proved too challenging for it to continue.
After 35 years of delivering babies in a home birth setting, today was a day of mixed emotions.
We do feel so devastated that it's come to this. However, we feel overwhelmed and amazed at the love and response we've had over social media and phone calls and messages and emails, absolutely overwhelmed with everybody's support for the centre and their grief and loss at letting it go.
One of hundreds of women sharing in the grief is Glengarry mother Natalie Townsend, who gave birth to 2 of her 5 boys at the centre.
Shocked and saddened because it was such a great place for women to be able to birth the way that they wanted to birth and to feel empowered about making those choices themselves.
Essentially, it was an inability to obtain a permanent midwife which led to the centre's closure. Also a contributing factor, the constant changes to independent midwifery regulations.
The insurance has been difficult for years now, where we couldn't even get insurance for the birth. We could only get insurance for the post and prenatal care. So yeah, there's always been a lot of stumbling blocks and hoops to jump through.
Labor today expressing its disappointment, requesting more transparency regarding the announcement.
There are many women in the north of the state who'll be really disappointed to learn that they can no longer use the birthing centre. And I think Will Hodgman and the Minister, Michael Ferguson, need to explain now what conversations took place before the announcement was made.
The Premier not ruling out another solution in the long run.
Ideally, we have a strong public and private system working together, and I'm sure health officials will want to do whatever to ensure that happens.
The centre's staff saying it might be the end of the road for now, but hope remains.
We work extremely well with the hospital, we work well with the midwives that are there, and we've got all the relationship there. It's probably just more that people need to be able to be supported financially, and the government to realise that it's something that it's a birth choice that women want to make.
Jessie Gilmore, 7 Tasmanian News.
Changes to school and public bus services are causing troubles for some communities. Residents of the Derwent Valley getting together today to air their concerns about new timetables and routes. They say the changes are causing people to be late for work and school.
She used to be on the bus at 7:15 and she'd normally arrive at school between 8 to 10 past 8. Now, on that day, she arrived at 8:52. She was checking into the office late, so she was meant to be in homeroom at 8:30.
There's a message for people to use public transport, to carpool, to be responsible with their transportation. Yet we have changes to the system which have meant that people are actually forced to drive their cars.
The government says it's not unusual to see some teething problems with such a major review, and the Department of State Growth is working with concerned communities. Despite cooler and wet weather, the risk from bushfires in Tasmania isn't over. Firefighters are continuing to set up containment lines and eliminate hotspots, with 18 fires listed as going. A strong cold front will hit the state tomorrow, with winds that could bring down fire-damaged trees. Authorities say a warmer cycle of weather is possible in the last week of February. Tasmania Police is investigating a break-in at one of the state's best-known horse stables, which forced trainer Gary White to withdraw 7 horses from yesterday's Hobart Cup event. For more, we're joined by sports reporter Tom Cooper. Good evening, Tom. What can you tell us?
Good evening, Joe. Well, the break-in occurred in the early hours of yesterday morning at the Tasmanian Hall of Fame Trainer Stables in Brighton. Now, police say nothing was taken from the property, but there were several horses on site at the time, which prompted concerns that they may have potentially been the target. Now, as a result, blood tests were taken from the horses, which will determine if they were given any sort of substance. Now, Joe, this all took place on the morning of the Hobart Cup, so Gary White's stable was forced to withdraw all of the 7 runners he planned to race throughout the day. It's believed the well-known trainer is devastated, and perhaps understandably so. Now, police are investigating and awaiting the outcome of those blood tests to determine if it was simply a botched burglary attempt or something a bit more sinister in nature, Joe.
A man has died while on a fishing trip in Anson's Bay in the state's northeast. The man, aged in his 50s, was fishing at the beach with his wife when he collapsed into shallow water. Paramedics and bystanders attempted to revive him, however he died at the scene. A report is being prepared for the coroner. A cyclist has been involved in a serious crash at Carlton. Police say the woman fell off her bike yesterday morning while riding along Carlton Beach Road. Authorities say she was wearing an approved helmet but suffered head injuries. Investigators don't believe any other vehicles were involved, but are calling for witnesses who saw the woman and her light blue bike before the crash. A shipping container has caused traffic headaches after landing on the side of the Bass Highway this afternoon. The container came off a truck in wet weather at the Dan Road intersection in Parramatta Creek. Drivers have been told to expect some delays while cranes arrive at the scene. Tasmanian farmers say a new program aimed at arming the industry with the right tools to succeed will help those struggling. The government-supported Rural Business Tasmania program will offer 9 workshops over the course of 2019.
And they'll include things like finances, managing your marketing and promotion of your products, how to actually get the best of the sales and the values, some of the OH&S responsibilities.
We've had a really busy last 12 years, but now we're at a crossroads, and I think that this will provide a blueprint or the map forward for us to really work out a strategy and work out how to get from A to B. I think that that's what we're needing at the moment, so the core syllabus is fantastic.
Farmers interested in joining the program are encouraged to sign up as soon as possible. Maritime festivities on Hobart's waterfront have come to an end, with the 25th Wooden Boat Festival wrapping up with a spectacle this afternoon. Crowds flooded to the wharf to watch some homemade vessels race, while others learnt a thing or two about fishing.
A tense moment as these boat builders take the plunge. Some confident.
It is floating right now, but I hope it lasts throughout the entire race, and I think it will. I think it's probably going to float. I don't think it's going to sink.
Others not so hopeful.
What are you expecting?
Is everybody
Ooh, getting cold. Cold and wet. Cold and wet.
A packed crowd eagerly watching these homemade vessels race and plunder in the city's waterfront. The Quick and Dirty Boat Race, just one of many signature events at this year's Standout Festival.
We're just blown away. I mean, the numbers have been fantastic and the weather's been very good too. One's connected to the other, obviously, but the whole of Hobart's come down to the waterfront, and we have a huge contingent of people from overseas and interstate. All of them delighted to be here.
Also here at the docks, a master fly fisherman, all the way from the United States, sharing his tips on how to cast the perfect line.
It's trying to get them to feel that motion and the rod loading, and it's just lovely. I could stand here all day and just cast, even though there's not a fly on the line. It's pretty fun.
The Wooden Boat Festival, done and dusted for another year. The Admiral's Sail, saluting Her Excellency the Governor of Tasmania, bringing the celebration of boats to an end. Ruby Kamain, 7 Tasmanian News.
A Tasmanian cat rescue service is putting out an urgent call for kitten foster carers following a significant influx in surrenders. 10 Lives Cat Centre has more than 300 little creatures in its care and is hoping the majority of them will find their own home.
Little kittens lapping up their life of luxury. Fellow felines guaranteed to keep them company. After a huge kitten season, 10 Lives is bursting at the seams.
We have about 300 cats and kittens in our total care.
One of the only ways to ease the burden is outsourcing care. The centre already has 180 dedicated foster carers.
They're like the lifeblood of 10 Lives and they really help.
But there's an urgent need for around 100 more.
And we've had a couple of hundred cats and kittens more into our care than we did for the same time last year.
Since the RSPCA closed its doors in Hobart to focus on its inspectorate service, the amount of surrenders here at 10 Lives have ballooned. In 2 hours on Friday, 25 kittens were brought in.
And so we just can't survive at foster care.
The centre provides training and resources such as food, litter, toys and bedding. A carer can decide on their own level of responsibility, depending on how much time and energy they can commit.
We just need people that have got a home and a heart and the time to give some care.
Cat owners can also be part of the solution by desexing their animals.
Get them desexed, make sure that they're microchipped, make sure that they're wormed and fleed.
Louise Hedger, 7 Tasmania News.
Tasmanian cricket fans are being urged to turn out in force and fill Blunston Arena for Thursday night's Big Bash semi-final. All-rounder James Faulkner insists he's recovered from an injury niggle and will be fit to play against his old side. With Thursday night's match falling on Valentine's Day, the Canes general manager is promising a slightly sentimental atmosphere.
Probably Clive Rose sort of appreciation night, really. So I think you'll see a few flowers, maybe a few purple flowers and a bit of love in the house. We're definitely looking to dial up the event pres, given it's a nighttime game and a semi-final, a big occasion.
Half the tickets for the match have already been sold, but with crowds down right across the board this Big Bash season, a packed house is still no guarantee.
The message to people is buy now, don't wait, because we hope we're putting the sold out sign up.
Having sat out the past 2 matches due to a minor knee injury, James Faulkner says he'll be fit to play come Thursday night, with the star all-rounder keen for a big performance up against his old side, the Melbourne Stars, after they qualified with a dominant win over the Sydney Sixers yesterday.
See, I did have a little chuckle yesterday when I saw the result. So it doesn't matter who you're playing; it's a knockout final. So we need to bring our best game as a group, and I'm sure we'll do that on Thursday.
The side is yet to falter at Blunston Arena this season, and despite dropping 4 games in the back end of the tournament, including Saturday's loss to the Sydney Thunder, Faulkner is adamant the Canes still have some of their best cricket left in them yet.
Yeah, definitely get down and support the boys. It's been a long season, and hopefully we can fill out Blunston Arena, and people can book their tickets before Thursday night.
Good evening. Mount Reid has topped the rainfall lists overnight and today, 41 millimetres prior to 9 a.m, and today another 28 as showers swept across a vast area. Hobart 26 degrees, Launceston and Burnie 21, Devonport 22. Friendly Beaches, the high around the state, 27 degrees as the east and southeast found the clearer weather. Grove and Ouse 25, Flinders Island and St Helens 23, Lowhead 20, Strawn and King Island 19, 17 today at Lyawini. A gusty northwesterly airstream brought the cloud and showers today, along with an isolated thunderstorm late in the day over the southeast. Cloud moves with a cold front just to our west. A stronger front is south of the Bight. The mainland is now generally free of cloud except for the convective cloud over the far north. Tomorrow a front will cross Tasmania with a low to the south. A broad area of low pressure links to troughs through central Australia. The northwest and northerly winds at 25 to 35 knots will tend westerly before decreasing a little bit to 20 to 30 knots, swells at 5 metres in western and southern waters. A gale warning for waters from Tasman Island around to St Helens Point, a strong wind warning for remaining coastal waters, a small craft wind alert for the inland lakes. And for tomorrow, Hobart, shower or 2, windy, 20, 19 the top for Adventure Bay and 15 for Tarraleah. Feels a bit like autumn to winter there. 19 for Launceston, showers and wind, 20 for Devonport and Bridport with a similar forecast. Same for Burnie as well, 20 the top, 18 for Strawn and Marrawar, 19 degrees with that same forecast. And shower or 2 clearing from St Helens, 22 the top, 22 for Swansea, Whitemark on Flinders, 24 degrees. UV a high 7 for Strawn and very high elsewhere. To Wednesday, a mainly fine apart from a shower for the west, far south and Bass Strait Islands. Similar conditions for Thursday with strong gusty west to northwesterlies, and on Friday showers over the west and south and later in the day over the east. A sunny 28 in Perth tomorrow, showery and 21 in both Adelaide and Melbourne. Windy and dusty for Canberra, hot and windy in Sydney, 37 degrees. A shower and possible storm for Brisbane. Fair bit of cloud around the state at the moment, 23 degrees in Hobart, Launceston 18, cloudy and 18 in Devonport as well. Joe, there's been a bit of a call out for all of us to get behind our fire-ravaged communities, so it's about time we went back and visited those communities in the Upper Derwent Valley, maybe also the Huonville area and also, of course, the Central Highlands. We've got the Taste of the Huon coming up in the March Long weekend and the Kempton Festival on this weekend, so good chance for us to get back and help them financially.